Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you guys are doing great. So the new school year is finally here and students are finally starting to go back to in-person classes after a year and a half later. That also means that the tech world has a lot of new exciting products and gadgets coming up. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the new Pixel series that's going to come out either at the end of this month or early next month. So let's get right to it. So first of all, I want to get the specs out of the way. Keep in mind that I'm primarily going to be mentioning the Pixel 6 Pro, not the standard Pixel 6. But also keep in mind that the specs for the 6 Pro and the regular 6 are very identical to one another, with the 6 Pro having some better specs. So any specs that I mentioned for the 6 Pro, 6 will have identical specs but a little bumped down version. So the 6 Pro is rumored to come with a 6.7-inch display, an OLED display too, so it's not HD like the one from before. On top of this, it also has a 120Hz refresh rate, so obviously keeping in line with all the other flagships like the OnePlus series as well as the Galaxy S21 Ultra. On top of this, the RAM on this phone can go all the way up to 12 GB. So you could customize the RAM all the way, you could spec it up all the way to 12 GB of RAM. And on top of this, storage option wise, I think it can go all the way up to 512 GB of storage, which is just in line with the S21 Ultra. The phone is also rumored to have a 50 megapixel back camera and a 12 megapixel front camera and a 5000 milliamp hour battery. So yeah, pretty solid specs if you really think about it. So now let's talk about that processor. So obviously this phone is going to be different from other Android phones because it's not going to be relying on Snapdragon or Exynos. Instead, Google made a custom chip called the Google Tensor for this phone. So they are going to be using this chip in their latest flagships, the Pixel 6 series. Now we can't say much about the performance of the chip until the phone actually comes out and people can do concrete testing on it, but according to Google, the main focus of this chip is actually AI. There's actually a great article that you can check out that highlights the details of the chip, and I'll link it in the description below, but basically, the whole focus of this chip is artificial intelligence and machine learning. So for example, the chip would be able to take a blurry image of some sort of a subject and sharpen that image and actually recognize what that image is. So if you have a blurry image of a baby toddler, the chip would have the ability to sharpen up that image to make it so that the camera itself can recognize what the subject in the image is. And this is all possible because of something inside of the chip known as the Tensor Processing Unit, or TPU for short. Another application of this is actually when taking a picture of a sunset, where the phone would be able to automatically adjust the dynamic range and the white balance. Text-to-speech is also improved on this chip because now, with this new Tensor chip, it would be able to directly speak words into the keyboard and it would show up almost instantaneously. So those are some of the major highlights that Google is claiming for their new Tensor chip. But obviously, the best way to test the validity of this chip is to actually test it for years to come on multiple devices. So it's fair to say that from this point moving on, Google is definitely going to start incorporating the use of this chip in all of their other flagship devices. Now, it is unclear as to whether Google will sell this chip to all the other Android phone companies as well, or if all the other Android phone companies will actually continue using supplying chips from Exynos and Snapdragon. But I think this definitely marks a new standard for Android phones, especially for Google phones. Because if you really think about it, now Google is on the same playing field as Apple with their custom-made chips for their phones, for their iPads, and for their MacBooks, like the M1 chips that they use in their MacBooks and iPads, and the A series chips that they use for their iPhones. Now, obviously, there's also a lot of other things to be answered about the phone, primarily the starting price of the phone. Most likely it'll be expensive, or more so on the expensive side, to compete with the other flagship devices, and whether there'll actually be a physical power brick inside of the box for the charging cable, or whether it'll just come with a regular charging cable and jump on the same bandwagon as every other company is doing. But we don't know for sure until the phone actually comes out. But either way, that's been it for this video. I just wanted to make a short video highlighting some of the major specs about the new Pixel 6 series. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, please be sure to subscribe, and I'll definitely be putting out more content. Take care.